Okay, here we go. We're going to tie up a Jiggy Baby Bugger. We're going to do this on a Firehole Sticks 839. This one is a size 10. I tie them in size 10 and 12, so they're little bitty guys. Using some Unithread 6/0 in olive here. So get myself a nice base right up towards the eye of the hook, leaving myself a little bit of room to tie in some barbell eyes. And these are lead barbell eyes, 1/40th of an ounce. I've tied these with 1/60th of an ounce, and that works pretty well. 1/40th is really going to get them down in the water column a little faster. 1/60th is just fine if you want a lighter bug. Then we're going to go ahead and advance the thread back towards the bend of the hook. Stop just shy of the bend of the hook. I do this in a number of different color schemes, sort of depending on what I'm targeting in terms of the hatch. This particular one, I'm going to use some woolly bugger marabou in rusty brown, topped with some woolly bugger marabou in sculpin olive. I'm going to go ahead and strip off some of the fibers from the side of the marabou quill to free them from that quill. I like to tie them in this way on some of my buggers so that I get some more natural ends and a lot more movement out of the feathers. I'm going to go with a tail that's approximately the length of the body here, and the tie-in's a little bit messy, but not a big deal at all on this bug. I'm going to kind of preen out some of the fibers on my sculpin olive marabou, get them ready to strip away from the quill, pull some off the quill and tie those in on top of the rusty brown. Of course, this is going to ride hook point up. The idea with this one, this color scheme, is that it's sort of crayfish-like. I'm going to go ahead and trim off the excess at an angle. And when I tie it down, it'll come up real flush with the barbell eyes, and I'll have sufficient bulk behind the barbell eyes that I don't really have to lay down a bunch of thread wraps or anything like that to even things out. Okay, now I'm going to tie in a fairly good length of UTC ultra wire in red, brassy size, to counter rib my hackle with. A fairly good length because I really want to have something to hold on to while I'm counter ribbing. Here comes the fun part. So we're going to grab a pinch of three different colors of squirrel dubbing with SLF. Some rusty brown, some dark brown, and some brown olive. The dark brown really just kind of dirties it up. The mix of the rusty brown and the brown olive matches the rest of the fly, right? I just kind of mix those up fairly well. My fingers, a little rough, like nature is just fine. Nature's rough. So form myself a fairly tight dubbing noodle, and then dub that on pretty tight. It's the body. It's a chenilless bugger. Yeah, I do use my rotary feature at times. When I'm really trying to keep a fairly tight dubbing noodle, the rotary feature kind of comes in handy. So as you see, we advanced that all the way up right behind the barbell eyes, pretty tight behind the barbell eyes. Really want that bulk. And then we're going to tie in our hackle here. It's going to be a Keogh's Grizzly Hen Saddle in brown. This stuff is really webby and soft. I love this hackle. I'll go ahead and select a fairly long hackle here. Give myself plenty of turns. Go ahead and prep that feather by stripping off the really webby stuff down towards the base of the quill. I'll go ahead and clip that off and get ready to tie her in. As I wrap this hackle back, I'm careful to keep the orientation of it correct so that it swoops back. It's really webby, so you kind of got to work the fibers loose as you go. You see how I grabbed my wire as I was getting close and sort of gave it a half wrap to get ready to start to counter rib. That way I was able to capture that last wrap of hackle easily with the wire. So I get my first like full wrap right back along the base, and then I kind of wiggle the wire, but also just kind of preen out the fibers away from the wire as I wrap through and counter wrap across each wrap of hackle. Just want to make sure that you don't trap down a bunch of fibers. Kind of pays to take your time right here. I'll go ahead and secure down that thread really well. With it nicely secured, it just makes it a lot easier to helicopter off that wire. Now I can kind of work out the tip of the hackle away from the marabou and break that off. You should be able to just break that off clean. Comb it out a little bit. All the fibers look pretty good. And we can move on to the next step. Okay, so now we're going to take just a little bit of Senyo's laser dub in Sculpin Olive. Picking up on a theme here. I like Sculpin Olive. Just a touch of that. And this is, remember, this is the bottom of the fly that we're going to start with here. So I'm going to go ahead and even up the fibers just by pulling them out a whole bunch of times, kind of get some evenness to them. And my clump on the bottom is going to be slightly larger than my clump on the top. Really, this just gives me a little bit of sparkle. So I'm actually going to go ahead and comb out and pull out quite a few of the fibers because I want it to be pretty sparse. Now I'm going to go ahead and even up some fibers on an even smaller clump that I'm going to tie in on the bottom. This is really just a titch. And just like the bottom, on the top here, we're also going to comb this out and pull away quite a few of the fibers. Just leave a little bit of sparkle and a little bit of form. And the last step here is going to be just doing a little bit more dubbing in front of the collar that we put on the top of the bottom. And the purpose of this is really just to cover up those barbell eyes, give it a more finished look. We're going to do the same dubbing blend with some rusty brown, dark brown, and brown olive squirrel with SLF. Form a bit of dubbing noodle. Don't need as much dubbing this time because we're just going around the barbell eyes. Slide that noodle up and use the rotary again to start the first couple wraps and then kind of figure eight it across the barbell eyes to finish them off. One more behind there. And then I'm going to bring my thread up to the eye of the hook, form a bit of a head, and whip finish, and we're done. That is a Jiggy Baby Bugger. Jiggy Baby Bugger.